Okay, so I've got it in closer now. Basically what we're looking at here is on the left-hand side of the black numbers, that's the centimeters, and the right-hand side in the silver is inches. So we'll ignore those numbers on the right-hand side and we'll just be looking at the ones on the left. So at the moment, it looks like it's around, in fact I'm going to go a bit lower here even, it looks like the measurements there on the left, oops, it looks like the measurement is around about 10 millimeters or 1 centimeter. So with the shaft lock release, that's over here, this knob on the side over here, loosen that, we can wind this up further. So that's gone up to about 15 now. So I'll go back down to 10, and basically at this point we have to start, like we don't have a digital scale on this, we're only basically going on a very coarse measurement here. To me that looks like it's about 10, and if we come back just out here a little bit so we can see a bit further, sorry about the moving video. You just got to understand where that scale is. So it's currently on 10. So what I want to do now is, I don't know if you can see where the handle is, it's basically on the far side, on the far left hand side there. So if that's around about 10, every quarter of a turn is 1 millimeter. So that is going in the high direction, it says high, and so I'm up at 11, and that should be 12. There's no point planing a 12 mil piece of wood at 12 because it won't do anything. So we've got to go down to 11. Once we've put it there, we'll lock this shaft lock in here and we'll turn the machine on. It's going to be quite noisy, so there's one more thing I want to tell you, and that's this little pine knob down here. It says on there, push in for 30 feet per minute, which is fast, and pull out for 16 feet per minute. It won't actually activate anything unless the machine's running. So you've got to turn this on first. I would recommend for all of this, we'll just go in fast mode. So turn it on and push in. So now it's engaged, and the feed roller inside there is going to pull the wood in and it's going to push it out past the blade. One more thing before we start is you must have the dust extraction chute open. If you don't do that, all of the shavings that get taken off of this piece of wood are going to end up all clogged up in there. So it's got to have that open to suck out all the waste material. So basically all we do here is put the wood in this side and it gets fed out through the other side out the back there. So there's an in-feed roller just in behind there. It'll engage and it'll start feeding it through. Now, we need to also think about whether we're going this way or this way. Keeping in mind I've got the V on the top, so that the top surface is the surface that gets planed away. Normally the principle we try and go with is, because there's a cutter over there which is pushing in against the wood, we don't want the grain to go down and dig in at the back, because this is going to feed past the cutter. If your grain goes downhill like that, it's going to dig in. So if you can see from the side whether the grain is going uphill or downhill, try and make it go uphill to the back, because then as it cuts, it'll give a smoother surface. Now that can be a little bit complicated working that out. So we've got several cuts here to work out whether it's working or not, because basically if it comes out rough, we'll turn it around and we'll go the other way. So let's give it a go. And the finish of that has come out pretty good. Let's do the other one as well. Just put the other one through. I might as well line them up the same direction. Okay, so in this case I've got the grooves at the front towards your camera, so I'll put this one the same. Okay, so now that we've done that, we should just check to see that our assumption of this being 11 was right. So just get a ruler, and this is 11 and a tiny bit. So it's close enough to 11 that I'm just going to assume that that was 11. So now we're going to release the shaft lock and wind it down a quarter of a turn, which takes us down to 10. And we'll just do them both again. Right, so something I've noticed as I'm doing that, firstly is it's quite noisy. So I'll encourage you to put on earmuffs. The earmuffs are just, if you haven't got your own earplugs, they're on the wall at the back there in the container. So I'm going to put my earmuffs on. The second thing we can do is run both pieces through at the same time. Now this cut that I'm doing now will be 9 millimeters. Release the shaft lock, turn it round, lock it back in place, and this is 9. So one of my pieces is going to be a 9 millimeter piece, and that is this big long one on the left. So my long one is going to be 9. So this is the last cut I'm going to get off of this. And I was hoping that we would get rid of the V completely, but there is just a little bit of the V left in there. So it's not too bad, and that one's 9. Now the short piece I've got to take down to 6. So that means I've got to pass it through till 8, 7 and 6. So I'll turn this back on, release the shaft lock, turn it down, lock it. So that was 8, another quarter of a turn takes us to 7. And because this is going to be our last cut at 6, I probably want to turn it upside down, and you notice the way I'm doing it, I'm not flipping it over. To keep the grain direction good, if you've got a nice clean surface on the top, flip it end to end. And now we can do the bottom surface just to clean off any marks that have been created by the machine on the bottom surface. Now what sometimes happens when we do this process is if you've got knots and things like that, because we're planing this down to such a small setting, which is 6 mils, it's quite a thin piece of wood, and you can find sometimes the knots actually break out and fly out. If that happens, you may need to replace that bit of the timber. Okay, there's not much we can really do about it. So just be aware of that, and it may mean at this point in time, if you've wrecked a bit of wood and you think you're not going to be able to work around it by looking at your plan and working out, okay, I'm not going to have enough spare, you just got to go and get another piece of timber, cut off a length. The minimum length that can go through this machine is 30 centimeters. So that's a ruler's length, a foot. Okay? If you make it any shorter, it's going to get jammed in the machine and not work very well. So you could go and get yourself another 30 centimeter piece, cut it off, and put it through the planer and take it down to 6 mils. If it ends up being basically the knot flies out and you've got a big hole there that doesn't work for you. So that's it. That's the next step. So we've now got our piece which is 9 millimeters and 6 millimeters. In the next video, we'll be looking at how to cut these down to size according to the plan.